r/tales from tech support. 9 stupid stories from tech support. Dressing appropriately. There was a post in a different subreddit where the first part of this was posted as a response. I decided I needed to finish the story, and this is the best place for it. Many years ago, I was in tech support for major software vendor. We had a cluster of products that all worked together with our backbone product. On day, I received a call from sales folks. They have a customer who wants a meeting with someone who knows XYZ product. I'm the TS expert for this particular product, so of course they called me. Check schedules and with my manager. Yeah, I can do it on date. This is the first time I've ever even met a customer, so in the morning I dithering about how to dress. Full suit, just a button-down, tie. Finally I give up, jeans and corp polo shirt. In the meeting room waiting on customer is my boss, the director of TS, sales folks, their manager and the director of sales. I'm feeling seriously underdressed, as even my boss is in a button-down and tie. A few minutes later, another salesperson shows in the customer team. Their guy in a suit, ignores everyone else, comes straight to me. You must be Otter, I'm name. Director and sponsor of the project at our company. He then introduces the other 2 folks, one of who is the tech lead for the project. I guess I dressed appropriately, as the customer was able to pick the techie out of a room full of people. They explain their project and how they see our product fitting in. They start peppering me with questions. I'm asking them questions. The whiteboard fills with notes and diagrams. Sales folks offer to get us drinks. Our directors say they'll get the drinks. I found out later, the director of sales didn't want his sales guys to miss anything. After 30 minutes, the sales folks' eyes have glazed over. Tech lead and I are way deep in how the product works. I asked my boss and director, is it okay to go this deep? Yes. We were completely redesigning the project. We paused. Tech lead looked at his director. Are you okay with what we're doing? He nods. So we keep going. Another hour later, their project is now centered around our product. Not just using it in the design hooks are there to use other products from us. A few weeks later I received a $1,000 bonus from the sale team. 6 months later I was promoted, with this meeting cited as one of the reason for the promotion. I ended doing many technical meetings like this with customers and even ended up on the trade show circuit. Objects in the rear view mirror. The past is never history. It will haunt you till your dying breath and follow you like an annoying fan. Now that you are all suitably depressed, let's get on with how the past followed me to my new job. I was working for a web hosting company as phone support and was doing quite well. The start of a weekend shift had come, which begins on a Friday and ends on a Monday. These shifts are great as we normally don't take many calls, so get time to study, read, watch and catch up on things. Then something completely unexpected happens in the call center. The phone rings. I pick up and do my spiel mentioning the web hosting company I work for and asking how I can help. Caller. Yeah, I would like to take you up on your wine offer. A lot of perplexed blinking and sure. Me. I'm sorry? Caller. The one in your latest issue. It sounds like a good deal. Can you tell me anything about the wines included? My brain has reached a terminal fault. Where am I? What year is it? What is going on? Caller. This is wine company, isn't it? Did he just mention the name of the company I used to work for? At this point, my brain is trying to flip its script from the new job record over to the past job record, and it is scratching like a DJ during the Eurovision Song Contest. Me. No. This is web hosting company. I think you got the wrong number. At this point, I notice ringing in the background. A lot more than normal. People are picking up calls left and right, all while this scratching record in my brain is playing A Weem Away from The Lion Sleeps Tonight on repeat. Caller. This is the number in the magazine number. Me. Yeah, that's our number, but we are a web hosting company. We aren't wine company. I can't help you. The call ends only to be followed quickly by another. And another. And they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. All are the same. Nice elderly people wanting to purchase wine from us. Just like when I worked for wine company. Turns out that what was going to be a wonderful relaxing weekend shift turned into a nightmare of constant wine calls from my past. The wine company in question put our number in their latest magazine instead of theirs. This wasn't just a simple digit off we are talking about, but 3 whole last digits are completely different. We had to get more people in to cover the amount of phone calls coming in, and it cost the company a huge amount of money to deal with it. We were all dead by the end of the weekend. My nice tipple of wine at the end of a long shift became a grim reminder of what I had just worked through. Well, the two companies finally sat down with each other and made some sort of arrangement in regard to the problems we faced. Probably a large amount of money changing hands. What did we get in the call center? A bottle of wine for free from wine company. Don't underestimate me, or exit, pursued by an NDA. So, it's like an abused puppy coming back and hoping it won't be kicked again? Pretty much, yeah, that's what it is. Well, 2020 was a hell of a year, wasn't it? I finally got a lot of the things I've wanted. I've moved to a previous address of mine, an energy-efficient townhouse with 3 floors, and the first one has my private office, and I've officially started a foray into Texas politics. Oh, come on now, we all saw that coming. I didn't expect to change jobs again, though. I suppose the old maxim, you don't quit bad jobs, you quit bad managers, is true in the end, but considering I'm posting this from Cozumel right now, well. As 2019 ended, a lot of things happened. I finally got my personal situation sorted out, I cleaned up my life, and I stopped caring about what family thought about me. My wife and I celebrated our first anniversary, and I finally realized that it's time that I started valuing time and work-life balance over being a mercenary and getting cash. Now, the company I'd worked for since 2013 was a very good company. I came in from an Austin hospital chain that got bought out and went national, and I spent 7 years working as a general Tier 2, Tier 3 sysadmin, handling all kinds of accounts. I worked on things ranging from lawyers to medical practices to schools, with things ranging from IT black ops to massive remote desktop farm compromises to regulatory compliance, as you all will remember from my stories about my time there. Unfortunately, at the end of 2018, the original management team sold the company to a venture capital firm, and when the original owners moved up to the new mothership, the HR Daleks brought in new people from outside in an attempt to standardize the firm. Of course, we all know how that song and dance goes. We rejoin our hero in mid-January 2020, prior to COVID really hitting its stride. So, I'm curious what's going on here, I said, staring at my boss across the table. For the past 6 years, my raise has come like clockwork on the 1st of January, just like clockwork. It's now about to pass the 21st, and it's not been applied, nor have I been notified of a review. Would you mind explaining what's going on here? You need to talk to COCKWOMBLE, Jack. I'm not in on raises, for once, the regional director said. This man had been my boss since 2015, when he started running the show locally, and then got promoted to regional director. Of course, a month or two later, once COVID became an epidemic, he was out for a while, then resigned in order to spend time with his family. I'd been annoyed by his replacement, an annoying little jumped-up schmuck brought in by the director of ops, whom he was friends with, from a competing MSP. I should mention that he'd already pissed off nearly every legacy employee, meaning those who had been around pre-acquisition, in one way or another, but I'd been trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. This all changed, of course, when the bastard, referred to after this as COCKWOMBLE, made one of my friends leave work crying. At that point, I decided that he was going to get cordial treatment, at the absolute nicest, because making a friend of mine cry was intolerable, especially from a mincing little shit drunk on white wine, vodka, benzos, and power who should have stayed a Red Robin shift lead, and bugger me with a rake if I didn't start pushing back. Other, smarter, co-workers saw the writing on the walls and jumped ship for greener pastures. I worked with the most skilled and technically versed techs in the company, and together, we formed an elite team that addressed the largest clients with the most intense needs and projects. The entire team left as a result of COCKWOMBLE's actions. One of them grew tired of fighting his boneheaded decisions, and left to become a DevOps lead. Another left to run the help desk at a startup, and another went to work as in-house IT for a private firm. COCKWOMBLE, meanwhile, decided to turn what was left of the help desk into a cookie-cutter MSP, meaning that he did the following. Hired non-technical dispatchers to assign tickets to technicians, without being asked to actually check and see if they could handle the load or understand what the tickets actually entail before dispatching them out. Hired purchasing employees, who, with the exception of one employee, Couldn't be arsed to quote out what we specifically named, even if we gave them part numbers and all. Removed the telecommuting, work from home program for employees, ostensibly to promote office culture. Started aggressively soliciting that employees post positive reviews on Glassdoor, using such phrases like clear guidance and the like. Started trimming what he considered deadwood clients with low monthly recurring revenue, high ticket volume clients, etc. Turned my team's very chill office into the company lounge and put my team next to the break room and parts closet with purchasing. Pushed hot desking in an open office, with 100% of employees in the office 40 hours a week, even after COVID was raging stateside. Strongly discouraged employees talking amongst themselves, to the point where he and the ops director said that any sort of backchannels among the employees would be treated as sabotaging the company. Meanwhile, COCKWOMBLE was, in actuality, driving morale and revenue to points too low that they couldn't be quantified, only expressed in ways that involved employees and clients leaving, willingly or otherwise. But I digress. I schlepped over to COCKWOMBLE's office, the next door down, and knocked. "Hey, COCKWOMBLE, got a minute? We need to talk." "Can you put it in an email, Jack? I'm kind of busy," he said. "I see your screens in the reflection from the window behind you. You want to try again?" I said, completely nonplussed, while I resolved to find out why the web filter we had apparently wasn't working properly. "Fine. What's up?" His irritation was apparent, and I figured that I'd make it quick, since he was an annoying bastard at the best of times, but he couldn't do without me. For now. "So, as you know, I'm due for a raise. It normally hits on the first of the year, and it's 3 weeks in now and nothing's there. Given that it's hit every year for the past 6, what's up here?" He smirked. "Oh, you'll have to talk to HR_Dalek about that. I don't have control over that anymore." "Yeah, I'm going to do that, then. I'll CC you," I replied, and for a second, I could see that he was livid with my reply, but screw it. You shirk your responsibility. I'll call your ass on it. "Okay, you do that," he said, turning his attention back to the screens, and the entirely too pasty contents therein. Good lord, his taste ran to Snow Whites and Gingers. I left and walked back to my cube, half height too, not even a properly tall cube, but the cheap bastard bot used cubicle partitions, picking up my giant TARDIS mug of coffee on the way. En route to the break room, I grumbled. I'd saved them 5,000 plus man hours the previous year by designing, creating, installing, and maintaining an imaging system that worked for all our clients. It took me 40 hours to set up and test, and they saved 125 times that I was able to prove. You bet your ass I was going to push for a merit raise there. Let's do some off-the-cuff math, shall we? I spent 40 hours to design and implement that system. At my pay rate, not nearly high enough, that was a pre-tax labor outlay of $1,150 and change. They saved 5,000-ish man hours that year, and based off the admittedly pathetic pay that they gave a Tier 1, that saved them, ballpark minus $90,000, pre-tax, in 1 year, that I could prove from documentation. It was probably quite a bit higher, but I wasn't about to piss around in ConnectWise figuring it out. Even a one-time bonus of a percentage of that would be acceptable, right? Nope, nothing. My ass was left out in the cold. Meanwhile, new sysadmins were hired on making more than I made, and in Austin, that's not that much. I took evening on-call shifts to help pay the bills, and $100 a shift, pre-tax, wasn't much, but it was 3 hours a night, 2 or 3 times a week, and it added up. Considering that at the time, my wife wasn't working while she was in school for a master's equivalent, and I was the only breadwinner, well, we needed the money. I dashed off an email to $HR_Dalek, $CCING$COCKWOMBLE, and hit send. I didn't hear back for a week, despite repeated follow-ups, and it was only after I turned on read receipts that I got a calendar invite for a meeting with them both. By this point, as you can imagine, I was royally pissed, and I had no intention of going in with anything less than my best imitation of Polly from Goodfellas. "Oh, business was bad. F you, pay me. So you had a fire? F you, pay me. Place got hit by lightning? F you, pay me." I didn't expect what happened next, though. Holy shit, I thought as I read through a trouble ticket raised by a very profitable client. The CEO was particularly demanding, asking techs to come to his house on occasion. I'd personally been out there on Christmas Eve once, and he'd asked for someone to come to their office same day for something to do on his Mac. Of course, thanks to $COCKWOMBLE's frickery with the queues, techs were lucky if they were running 40 tickets deep, and first contacts were lucky if they were 4 hours behind the initial call in for anything but escalations. Please send someone who is an expert with Macs. If someone shows up and has to use Google to figure out how to transfer data, they will need to inform their managers that we will be re-evaluating our relationship, and we will escort that person off-site. Instead, he got $COCKWOMBLE replying to him, ripping him a new one about his tone and demeanor in a ticket, and doing so, in writing, using unprofessional terms and language himself. While I understand if you have frustrations about our service, I still need you to muster a level of professionalism that would show our employees the respect earned with their roles. Internal screaming. Didn't begin to describe the mental dialogue I had going. The CEO wasn't having any of it. When I return from the UK, have $account_manager meet $client_office_manager and myself at our offices. Either $COCKWOMBLE is fired, or your company is. I really thought I'd get in trouble for that, $COCKWOMBLE said, walking up to the end of the aisle of cubes. He was being such a meanie. I'm just looking out for you all. No, you absolute moron, you weren't, I replied. You've just lost us a $120,000 a year client. You know how many clients we have that are larger than that in the central region? 3. That's right, you single-handedly lost us a massive client, and we're probably going to have to tighten our belts now. For your sake, you'd best be able to explain to $ops_director why they left. Oh, I already did. She and I went out last night and I told her over drinks. You didn't know? You colossal shitstain, I screamed internally. Out loud, though, I refrained from vulgarities. You know, when I was hired, it was a terminable offense to be the reason a client left, doubly so if they actually called you out by name. Times change, he smirked. And yet incompetence still floats to the top like feces in the toilet, I shot back, sipping at my coffee. You have your meeting with me and $HR_Dalek in 2 hours, he snapped. $HR_Dalek can explain a few things to you. Good, I'd love to hear him explain why you're not let go for this. I turned back to my screen. If you don't mind, some of us have clients to keep. He flounced off in a huff, and I loaded up the Play Store on my Pixel 3 XL. At this point, I knew I couldn't trust any of them to be honest with me, or even not gaslight me, and I figured that it was time that I went full nuclear. Knowing that Texas is a one-party state, meaning that only one party needs to be aware of and consent to audio recording, I downloaded an audio recording app, then set it to hide notifications from the system tray. We all know where this is going. Chili or email, you can't have both. This story happened some years ago to one of my car dealer clients. I had worked with these folks for over 10 years at this point, so little surprised me when issues cropped up. The building they were in was several decades old and their power needs proved it. One Saturday morning, the wife and I were heading to the big city to do some shopping when I get a call from the dealership. Manager, one of several on hand. Salesperson, no description needed. Me answering the phone, hello, this is me. Manager, hey me, we're not getting any email and I can't send any either. I can surf the internet, just no email. Oh, and I think Wi-Fi is down also. Me, well that's not right. Any power issues? This is an industrial area of the city and the power company liked to perform work on the weekends while it wasn't as busy. Manager, no, power has been good so far. We need to get the email going again. I'm waiting for some important messages from new car manufacturer that I need yesterday. If we can't send any emails to clients, we could lose sales. It's really important we get this fixed ASAP. Continue more droning on about the importance of his email. Stopping him mid-sentence. Me, okay, no problem. Wife and I were already heading to nearby shopping destination, so I'll be there in about 10 minutes. Upon my arrival, I head directly to the server room and find UPSs complaining about being on battery and the email server powered down. Okay, we do have a power issue. Checking the rest of the room, I find the primary dealer management system, DHCP server, parts catalog, routers and switches are all up and running. Wi-Fi controllers and of course the email server are down. I'm checking power feeds when manager pokes his head in and continues to tell me how important email is, with several salespeople in the behind him complaining about no Wi-Fi. Me, I know, trying to find out why portions of my racks don't have power. So no power glitches happened after you guys opened? Email was working when you got here? Manager, yay, no lights flickered and was able to access email right away. Then the salespeople started complaining about Wi-Fi. At this point I'm now headed to the hallway where the electrical panels were located. All 5 of them, with some of the worst labeling I've ever seen. Decades of labels, marker, crayon of locations that were mostly unreadable. Random salesperson walks up. Salesperson, hey me, are you looking for the breaker for the lunchroom? Me, no, some power is out on the server racks and I'm trying to figure out why. Salesperson, well, if you find the one for the lunchroom, let me know. The toaster isn't working. Me, well okay, but not my priority at the moment. You see, this building used to be a big box hardware store before they got bigger. During the dealership renovation, apparently the electricians did not trace or update the labeling of the electrical circuits in the whole building. Old or new. During the renovation of the building, I did remember seeing the old plans and that the server room and neighboring storage rooms used to be the manager offices for big box hardware. In the 4th panel, I finally find an old label for manager office and find the tripped breaker. I reset the breaker and turn it back on, and seconds later it trips again. In the meantime, I hear from down the hall. Salesman, hey, you found it. Nope, it's off again. What the hell? I go into the lunchroom and find him at the toaster with a bagel inside and next to it a crock pot full of warm chili. Staff lunch has killed portions of the network, as I came to realization that several of the lunchroom receptacles were on the same circuit as parts of the server room some 50 feet away. My level of cursing began to rise. With salesman's help, we moved the crock pot and toaster to the other side of the room, which was still working. I reset the breaker and began to curse the original electricians as I brought the systems back up in the server room. I then retrieved my trusty label maker and labeled the breaker and receptacles, adding warnings to each location just in case. I updated management working that day that their lunch brought down their email, and my wife and I continued our shopping spree. Me being pretty irritated at the comedy of errors. The following Monday, I contact general manager and explain what happened. I also let him know that I was making an executive decision and that I contacted their electrician and had him add multiple 30-amp circuits to the server room. Always the professionals, they also traced the remaining receptacles in the room and labeled them. To prevent further interruption, I set aside a late evening trip on site to move the UPSs over to the new circuits, and all was right with the world again. The easiest overtime ever. Hello. No, this isn't the story mentioned in my last post. I'm still figuring out how to tell that one, but this story crossed my mind and I thought it would be interesting to tell. Players. Me. I'm here. This took place, about 4 years ago now. Our IT infrastructure company had been contracted to install the data, access control, and camera systems for a new tortilla factory. There was actually very little data and access control, mostly limited to WAPs in the administration areas. There were, however, over 100 cameras, with complete coverage of the production and packaging areas. Because they wanted HD quality recording practically 24/7, they needed a 7-figure camera server to handle the video. All of that was not particularly difficult, and it was even quite fun to learn how to configure the cameras and add them to the system. The issue came after they had their electrical inspection. They failed so hard that the owners fired the electrician for gross incompetence. For reference on how bad it was, one of the feeder lines for a breaker panel was attached to the wall by screwing through the conduit. They then hired a new electrician who called all hands on deck to make it right. So how do I fit into all of this? How do I get the easiest overtime ever? One Saturday, they needed to completely shut off power to the half of the building that contained the main communication room. This meant their fancy camera server would go offline. As we weren't done configuring the system, we hadn't turned over the passwords, so we had to go handle it in person. My boss explained this to me Friday afternoon. He then gave me the following instructions. Ask the electricians for a corded plug to feed the UPS from a powered part of the building. If that failed, log in and perform a graceful shutdown to protect the system from possible corruptions due to the UPS shutting down. If you are like how I was at the time, you might be thinking, why do we need to shut it down if there's a UPS? Turns out that the UPS only lasts for about 30 minutes, it's only ever meant to be a bridge until the on-site backup generators kick in. I arrive on site and my first order of business is to find an electrician. Done. They're everywhere. Then the conversation goes a little something like this. Me. Hey, do you guys have a corded plug? Electrician. The hell is a corded plug? We go back and forth, asking other electricians, calling my boss for clarification. He only ever repeats the term, corded plug, like that's perfectly clear, for about an hour. As we're coming up on T0 for power off, the electrician finally says, wait, does he mean extension cord? Because yes, we have some of those, but none long enough for what you need. Primes.x has stopped responding. I rush into the comm room and log in, shutting the server down just as they hit the disconnect and the lights go dark. I then call my boss to ask if I need to do anything else. Nope, the system will start automatically when they turn the server back on. Come on home, you still have a lawn to mow. Did I mention my boss is also my dad? So that's the story of getting paid an hour of overtime for shutting down a server. Edit. TLDR. Took an hour to figure out what a corded plug was before shutting down the server. P.S. Part of why my story in the works is stalled is because I can't think of a clever fake name for a shipping company. Any ideas? You could have saved your job with a reboot. Long a time lurker, first time poster. HFF. Help desk frequent flyer, one whose self-importance is drastically overestimated. I work as an IT manager for an international corporation and it never fails that we have a plethora of user issues with our staff and mobile workforce. Our organization has employees who are famous for not opening tickets and just calling out of the blue with the most basic of issues. Today is no exception. My morning started as usual with calls coming in before I or my team even arrive at work. We set to work answering calls and prioritizing the calls, ensuring any production stopping issues or customer-facing issues are taken care of first. Out of the blue, and before my first cup of coffee, our local HFF calls my direct line with an issue where her PDF reader will not open. I look into the ticket system as I do not remember seeing a ticket from her, and sure enough there isn't one. Since I am already working on an issue that affects multiple facilities, I ask her to put in an IT ticket and I would address it as soon as I can. Well, as you can imagine, the HFF gets irritated and demands I address her issue as it is urgent. Trying to be helpful, I suggest that she give the system a restart and try again, ensuring it is not one of those odd occurrences that happen with certain operating systems. This is the point. The HFF insists that she has already done so and it is still happening. She then again demands that I drop what I am doing and help her. I politely repeat that I am working on an issue that affects multiple facilities and she would have to wait her turn. This goes over like a lead balloon and she disconnects the call after muttering sarcastically about the need of entering a ticket. Please understand that opening a ticket is as simple as sending an email to the IT Teams group inbox with a simple one-line statement of the issue. Our ticket system creates and fills in all other fields that are required automatically from the person's email address. This is when I get a call from the HFF's manager demanding to know why I refuse to work on HFF's ticket. Now I am starting to get irritated at HFF since I had just asked her to do what requires minimal effort to get in the queue for assistance. Instead, she wants to get her manager involved as if it would help her jump the line. Nope. I explained to HFF's manager I am working on an issue that affects multiple facilities and the HFF would have to wait her turn. HFF's manager understands and says that he will discuss the need for priorities with the HFF. 10 minutes later, I notice a help request from HFF shows up in the ticket system. I quickly route the ticket to myself, ensuring that none of my subordinates have to deal with HFF or her self-important attitude. I finish correcting the multiple facility issue and decide to take care of HFF's ticket. I open our remote connection software to look at HFF's workstation event logs to see if there is any indication of what is causing her PDF software issue. Lo and behold, an update was applied to her software and her system was pending a restart. This is when I notice the uptime counter for the workstation at 3 days and 14 hours. I call HFF and ask her if she is still having the issue, to which she sarcastically replies that she is. Since HFF has been difficult and known to exaggerate in the past, bordering on insubordination, I decide to call HFF's manager and ask him to be a fly on the wall during my conversation with HFF. He agrees and even suggests that HR be present. Within the span of 10 minutes, I had HFF's manager and the VP of HR in my office explaining to me that this is not the first report of unprofessional attitude coming from HFF. To make matters worse, I find out that HFF had just reported me to HR half an hour ago for being unprofessional. Keeping my composure, I started the call with HFF. Immediately, she gets irritated and asks if I have a solution for her issue. HFF uses some language that would never be acceptable in a professional workplace. Knowing that HFF has just crossed the line, I request that she refrain from using inappropriate language during the remainder of our call. Needless to say, she not only does not stop using inappropriate language, she actually increases using it. I am asked to mute the phone by hour. I explain to HFF that I need a few min to make a change on the back end of her system, which draws further toxic comments from her. I mute the phone and HR informs me that they will need a statement from me about the incident. I want to resolve the issue and get HFF off of the phone so I don't have to deal with this anymore. I return to the call and inform HFF that her workstation will need a restart to apply the changes. Well, needless to say, but her PDF issues do not exist after the reboot. And for one final nail in her coffin, she closes the call with a comment of how useless our entire company is when it comes to resolving her issues. Within the hour, HFF's manager, HR, and I, as the third manager in the room required by our termination policy, were sitting in the conference room where HFF's employment was terminated. HFF never said one word after she was informed that the company no longer needed her services and the details and reasoning for her termination. All I could think of during the exit interview was, this could have all been avoided if HFF would have just rebooted her workstation when I asked her to. You need what? Customer loses install media. This is another tale from a while ago. My company had sold a computer system to a military base about 4 hours driving from my main base. No problem, I didn't have to visit often, maybe once or twice a year. Then the customer needed the system relocated into a different building, your tax dollars at work. I had to make a visit to inspect the new building, estimate the cost for moving, all that jazz. Anyway, I managed this project and we got paid a lot to do it, so everyone was happy. Then something happened. Several months after we did the relocation, the System V Unix running a very small mini-computer, died. Our help desk folks were able to figure out it was probably the hard drive, only one in this system. So they called me, we all figured out when I could get there. A replacement drive was shipped, all good. I had an extensive conversation with the customer that we'd need their backup tapes, plus the OS tape that came with the system, along with some extra tapes that had additional packages that we required. I was assured they had everything. They even had a safe that they kept all the tapes in. I got up early next day and did the 4-hour drive, got to the new building, unboxed the new drive and had it installed in less than an hour. Hardware was not the most repair-friendly design. I then asked the customer for the tapes. They hand me a stack of their application backups. Okay, we'll need those later. Where are tapes with the OS? The ones that came with the system. Blank stares. They checked the safe, not there. They had not unpacked all the boxes from moving into the new building, so they start tearing into these. I call the help desk, is there anything we can do? Nope, need the tapes. Customer spends a couple of hours digging through boxes, calling people who are not there and asking them, bickering about whose job it was to pack things up. I'm kind of stuck. The disk installed is raw, no way to boot at all except off a tape, no floppy or optical on this system. Your choice of SCSI devices only, which you can select during the post. Finally, the customer throws up their hands. They have no idea where the tapes are. I'm on the phone with the support folks. What do we do? Make them buy a new set? How long will that take? My support buddy finally just says he'll make a copy from tapes he has in the office. He knows which ones I need. We don't know if we're allowed to do this, but we're in a jam. I find out where the nearest airport is, a city an hour away. He'll copy the tapes and get them on a plane to me. I tell the customer what the deal is. They are really grateful, hop in my car and drive to the airport, find the air freight office, package has not arrived. I take a seat and read a book. At last, the plane lands, they hand me my package, I rip it open and confirm I have tapes. My support buddy, great guy, has come through. Back in my car and race back to the base. Boot off the OS tape, hooray it works. Have to actually partition the drive, entering various geometry factors, then format it, then install the OS. It works. Reboot off the disk, all good. Install optional software from the other tapes, various sysgen and reboots required. Finally, reinstall my company's application files, plus customers' database. Now it's way too late to drive home. Spent the night in a motel and headed home the next day after checking in with the customer. All good. I don't know what we did about replacing the tapes, I didn't have to deal with that, I'm guessing we just let them keep the copies. The right mouse button? I work IT help desk at a university, and thought you guys might find this mildly entertaining, if not frustrating. This time of year we get many requests for account resets, unlocks, and just general access assistance as students shake of the rust of summer and prepare for the semester. This particular university has a high percentage of older students as well, older being over 30. Students, particularly the older students, tend to call in very stressed over what is normally a very simple issue. Most of my job around this time is usually more focused on calming the user down enough to walk them through what they have to do to gain account access. One call I received from an older gentleman went like this. Me, you've reached University Help Desk. How can I assist you today? User, your system isn't working. Me, what seems to be the issue, sir? User, it won't go, it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Me, okay, well, what system are you working with? User, I'm trying to access my account, but your system is sh*t. Me, okay, please provide me with your ID number, and I can take a look at the account. I get the number, take a look at the account, and nothing seems to be wrong. Me, sir, are you getting any error messages when you try to log in? User, no, it's just not going. You really need to come up with a better way of doing this. Me, I understand, sir, but let's focus on making sure you can get into the account for now. What happens when you try to log in? User, you aren't listening to me, nothing happens, it just doesn't work. Me, okay, walk me through it, step by step. You get to the landing page. User, yay. Me, you see the sign in button? User, yay. Me, okay, what happens when you click the sign in button? User, nothing. How many times do I have to say it? Me, all right, sir. Well, can you describe to me what you see on the page right now? User, I just see open link in new page, open link in new tab, save link as. Me, mentally, facepalm. This can't be happening, this has to be a goddamn nightmare. Me, verbally, sir, when you click on the sign in button, are you clicking the right mouse button or the left mouse button? User, what the f*ck do you think? I'm clicking the right mouse button. Me, this is gonna sound weird, but do me a favor and try clicking the left mouse button. User, oh wow, that worked, I can enter my credentials. You know, you guys really need to fix your goddamn system, it's really not very obvious what you need to do. Terrible service. Me, you have a great day, sir. That's not how this works. Bridges must be burned first. Back in the early 2000s, I had a client that I did IT work for. Network setup, cable runs, printers, and lots of software troubleshooting. At first I was hesitant to take them on since the owner was an estranged relative and giant red flags were already flying. You see, unfortunately, owner had a reputation of having a lawyer on retainer and owner kept him busy. Owner thought that scare tactics like litigation was a great way to handle anything he wanted. Owner was even known to have gone after his own children. So yay, owner was a real peach, so keeping him at arm's reach was a requirement. Me. Owner, estranged family member and all-around peach. New guy. Whatever IT person is in place. Lawyer, his lawyer of many years. So one day owner tells me he wants a website for the company. Early on I did single-page websites with just information so I could easily prepare a basic site. During this process I found out that a new salesman owner hired dropped the idea in his ear and already had flyers and business cards printed up with the new website. One problem: owner didn't own the domain name printed on the cards and flyers. This escalated when I found out that his competitor actually purchased the domain name and created a website all about competitor's company. Lawyer is then invoked, and using my imagination I hear legalese loudly shouted back and forth with owner demanding that it belong to him. I even consulted with owner and lawyer at this point, informing them that competitor bought the domain name first and competitor can do what they want with it. Most of all, there is a process of transferring domain names for security purposes, and even if they win any lawsuit or competitor gives it up, that transfer process still has to occur. In the end, owner didn't get the domain, but competitor did take down the site. So I purchased a domain name that was very similar to the one owner couldn't have and hosted his basic site. Over the years I did some updates to the site like staff changes, including the fired salesperson, pictures and services. Things were quiet. I should mention that I purchased the domain name under my umbrella and hosted the site on my server. It was small and there was little to no traffic going to it, so my older web server could handle it. So IT work continues on site for another year or two when suddenly my last 2 invoices are not paid. Inquiries made, but no word on what's going on. Then I get a letter in the mail from owner and that my services were no longer needed, and they wouldn't pay those invoices. I wasn't really upset about this result. It felt more of dodging a bullet. Plus him not paying for work came as no surprise either. After a week or 2 I get a phone call. New guy. Hey, this is new guy. I'm taking care of IT for owner company. They told me to call you and get the passwords to the network Wi-Fi, file server and admin accounts. Me, oh really? Did they also mention that they have 2 open invoices and have officially refused to pay both? New guy, no. Me, I see. No surprise. Anyway, all settings, configurations and other stuff are in an admin folder on the file server. New guy, what's the password? Me, sorry, I can't help you. That bridge has been burned. Silence. Me, oh, there's a copy of their website on the file server also. Once you start the transfer process with your domain provider, you can request the domain name and I'll transfer it to you. New guy, what? Me, their website domain needs to be transferred and site host changed from mine to yours. Check with your provider about transferring domain name blah blah.net to you so we can start the process. New guy, what website? Me, oh boy, well good luck and watch your back. CYA and document everything for the next guy. End call. Never heard from him, so after about a month I shut down the site. Later on I renewed the domain name since I had a gut feeling. On a side note, I also noticed that the original domain name owner wanted was available. I thought about grabbing it but left it alone. Not my monkey, not my circus. Fast forward about 2 years and the domain is up for renewal once again, which I cover, but decide to see if anyone was paying attention. So I created a simple page that said, this domain name is for sale, and to contact me via such and such email. Weeks later I get a message from a person via an unrelated work email. Unknown person. How much for the website? Interesting. Me, selling it since it's costing me money and the client never requested a transfer. You may contact me at work number for more details. No price given. Next day I get a call from his lawyer. Lawyer, my name is lawyer representing owner. You can't sell his website, he owns it. You need to give it to him. Me, I know who you are. That's not how this works. Lawyer, you can't sell something that doesn't belong to you. Me, you didn't learn anything from the previous litigation you were involved with owner and competitor. I told you in great detail how this works. His tone suddenly changes. Lawyer, you're the same person? Me, yep, and new guy contacted me a long time ago but never started a transfer request for the domain name. I also had to explain the process to new guy, just like with you and owner years ago. Oh, and by the way, owner has a full copy of the website on the server. Hopefully someone didn't delete it. Lawyer, okay, well go ahead and transfer the website over to owner then. Here we go. Invoke lawyer speak. Me, this is a 2-party process. The first party, Owner company must request the domain name to be transferred online via owner's domain name provider, like say GoDaddy. That request reaches me via my provider and the process begins. I'm the second party. It's a bit technical but required for domain names to change hands. It's for security purposes so folks don't grab up someone's domain name and use it like competitor did. Once the transfer is complete, the website files can be moved to a new host. Lawyer: okay, so owner just has to make the request and it goes to him. Me: it's a bit more complicated than that, but if current new guy is available they can contact me and we can work out the details. The process just needs a starting point. Lawyer: okay, I'll let them know. Me: and just to let you know, a couple of years ago owner decided not to pay for services rendered that I had to write off. While I'm not letting that factor into this situation, you can let him know that is a bridge he burned. Lawyer: what? Pause. Lawyer: okay, I'll get in contact with them today. Nothing happened afterwards. No request, emails, phone calls, nothing. Once the renewal came up again, I just let it expire. The family member that talked me into taking him on years ago retired soon after due to owner's behavior. Company passed to new management after owner passed away and still exists today. They now have a nice little WordPress site on a new domain name. Family. Am I right? Nice. You have made it to the end already. Thank you for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, please do so, as there will be more videos like this in the near future.